over the years, what I've really tried to tune into is these necessary, or let's say complementing mindsets that can keep you on course and really, yeah, really help keep you grounded and keep you at your best. And we touched on these already in the previous lecture, where I talked about essentially the fear of failure and really not indulging in that fear too much, but instead actually welcoming failures, welcoming obstacles, because every one of them presents an opportunity for growth, an opportunity for betterment and for learning. And I think that's a really simple, fundamental mindset. But the other was actually where we noted that that sometimes how we can get paralyzed in terms of the progress we're making by this want, overindulgent want for perfectionism. And I kind of talked about, fighting that off, where anytime I'm actually searching for perfectionism, that's my cue to go, because I know I'm overindulging in that space. And that actually as a tool has been really formative, really complementary. But there's a number of others, and I want to go over them in this session today. And I'd love you to listen to them, hear them. Some of them will be appropriate to you. Some of them will probably be a little bit overshares on my part. So take them with a pinch of salt is one. But also perhaps in the time that you're taking to reflect each day, you might think, what are perhaps the mindsets that you have in you, the ideas, the beliefs that are really, really complementing, and perhaps some that might actually be holding you back a little bit more than they're bringing in terms of good, and might need a bit of work. So the first one that I want to talk about is unfortunately one that I can't really pronounce as well as I should, but it's essentially described as having an equanimous state of mind. And what that means is that you kind of have a stepped back approach, or a detached approach to the events of a day. And the reason being is sometimes something that appears very positive initially, as it unfolds, can actually be quite negative. And in that instance, say you got carried away with how good it was, and you cheered, and you got really worked up, and then it turned out to be bad. Well, that positivity at the start almost actually amplifies the negativity as things go on. And so an equanimous state of mind would be to actually just wait things out a little bit, knowing that it takes a little bit of time for things to really add up and come to fruition. And the same is true, if you think about if you think about some of the real challenges that have come in your life. Like when I look back and reflect on my life, and I think of the real hard challenges that I've encountered, I know that in actual fact, those are the ones that I value the most in terms of events in my life. Those have brought me the most value, and I wouldn't change them if I had the chance. And I think that's a really, really interesting thing, that those events that were horrific as they came up have actually been really formative and really strengthening. And so if I take that to the present, I actually generally find that I don't necessarily overly react when something bad happens. I kind of take it in, and I think to myself, I wonder what good I'm going to get from this in time. And so that kind of state of mind, a perspective, that equanimous state, a tongue twister, I found extraordinarily complimenting in terms of staying grounded throughout the flow of my day, and allowing space to take things in properly in terms of, are they actually good in time, or are they actually not so good? And similarly speaking, is something actually bad, or will it bring a hell of a lot of value in time? So I wanted to share that with you, and I'd love you just to think about it. And as I said, if you take a bit of time to think about perhaps some of the challenging events that you've had in your life, what good have you gotten from them? And I lay you a bet for one or two of them that are really, really challenging, you'll actually find yourself a little bit appreciative to them. I certainly did when I did that exercise myself. In moving on from there, and I think it's kind of slightly intertwined, is that I really have this foundationally pillar of thought, that things don't happen to you, they happen for you. And I really think that's important to keep in mind at all times in business, that, as I said, Things happen for you, not to you. And what that is intertwined in is that past reflection that I said, where I talked about, looking to the past and looking to challenges where in time actually they serve you, they bring you good. And so in the present, as I said, and anytime something unfolds, anytime something's challenging, I really, I do think to myself, how is this going to serve me? Because from past instances, I know ultimately it will. And so it helps me not overreact, stay grounded. And so it's kind of intertwined in the past one, but I wanted to really emphasize in on that because it's important. The other thing is that in the journey, I always find that whenever I'm overly active, whenever I'm trying to move too fast, I fall, I stumble, I make bad decisions, and so what I find is that I constantly check in with myself, and if things are moving too fast, I work to actively slow them down. And that comes from a knowing that I perform at my best, and I believe we as humans perform at our best from a calm state of mind. And although it is exciting to be like fired up on adrenaline and making moves, unfortunately most of the time we don't actually perform as well as we should in those states. And so that kind of mindset of knowing are really checking in with myself and saying, am I going too fast here? How can I slow things down? And I've almost kind of become half addicted to this process of I actually try to slow myself down more and more and more because I know I operate better and better and better from that state. And I kind of think that like as an extension of that, less is more. And what I mean by that is we have a funny habit of thinking we need to do so much and spreading ourselves too thin. And when we're spread too thinly, we don't get to show up as our best selves. And so we let ourselves down. However, when we apply this less is more philosophy and really think, what it is that we're going to do and prioritize, and for whatever it is that we do prioritize and we do, we show up as our whole and total self, our undistracted selves. And we make such an impact because so few people do that. So many others are so spread so thin that when we show up wholly and totally present, wholly and totally conscious as our unspread too thin type, that's when actually we do ourselves real justice. We get to show ourselves off. And so going back over that, slowing ourselves down to be really, really present is key, rather than running off on some adrenaline rush, and then allowing ourselves to be really present and our best selves by focusing and focusing and pulling ourselves in so we're not spread too thin. That again is like one of these real pillars of wisdom that I've taken from my journey to date, and I really hope for yourselves you can take a little bit of time to think of perhaps some of those challenging times, and were you perhaps a little bit unconscious? Were you trying to move a little bit too fast? And does that ring true that actually were you a little bit slower? Were you a little bit more present, a little bit more calm? Things might have unfolded differently. And you might look for times when you have been in those states and how things have gone for you. And then the other is thinking about times when you have been fully present and fully focused and not spread too thinly. I think we can all dip into ourselves and think about times when we've just felt overwhelmed, pulled way too thin, stretched, and as a result we unfortunately don't get to be our best selves. So I think those I really hope those sit with you, and I emphasize all of this because in this space as a life coach, like, you are your business and you are an ambassador for your business. And so what I mean by that is if somebody's watching on and you're not present, you're rushing all over the place, you're very obviously stretched, it's hard for them to see or justify a want to work with you. Just to be honest, we all, unfortunately, whether conscious or unconscious, we are all looking at everybody else and taking a lot in. Whereas the opposite, if you see somebody that is calm, if you see somebody that is really, calm, collected, present, shows up as their whole and total self, that is so unique that it's almost hard not to take that in and go, wow, this is unique, this is impressive. What's this person's secret? I'd like to engage with them. And so the nice thing about this work is, as I kind of have emphasized already, that it starts with you. And the more you work on yourself, one, of course, the greater capacity you have to work with others, but two, the more you actually shine out and promote the benefits of your work. And it becomes almost impossible for others not to see that in you and not to want to work with you. And that's what I'd really, really emphasize. And the last little thing before I jump off is that I just wanted to talk about the reflection exercise, every day where you take a little bit of time to reflect on your past. And I wanted to note that for me, I see my past as literally a vault with all the information I need to grow, all the information I need of past experiences to expand to whatever level I want. And I say that because I really feel there's a huge emphasis at the moment on gurus, looking to experts, looking to others to help us solve our problems. And the whole philosophy of coaching is that essentially you have everything inside you already. You have more than you need. And I wanted to express that to you all the more and kind of make it a little bit more tangible by saying that, like, to date, I have no doubt that you have already experienced all you need to see yourself in all different angles and learn from that and grow. And so I just wanted to emphasize that, like, you have such a vault of learnings inside of you, and there is such an opportunity for growth in diving into that. And so in this space and time that you're taking for yourself to grow in this career path, I suppose I need to emphasize the value of all those past experiences inside you and the value that they will contribute to you. And so as much and as interesting it is to read other books and watch lectures and listen to podcasts and stuff, don't discredit yourself, and don't discredit what you have inside you already and what there is to unearth.